Good evening, I'm Joe Ginger. Welcome to Winsor Downey Day in Canton, Illinois. Harlan Ingersoll Library organized this event in appreciation of donations from John Winsor and Dave Downey for their reading programs. John Winsor's daughter, Sue, spoke on behalf of her father. Dave Downey and his son Jay attended and spoke to the children about the importance of learning to read. I hope you enjoy the program. Thank you.
Well, it's a big day here at Wallace Park, or the Donaldson Center, and I'm talking with Jessica Sperenberg, who's director of the Harlan Ingersoll Library. This is all being put on by the library today. What's going on?
Well, hello. Today we are actually doing Winsor Downey Day, a day that has been made possible through the generous donation of Mr. John Winsor and Mr. Dave Downey, who both believe in children's literacy. Along with this day, we have distributed book bundles to every child in the Canton Union School District, ages pre-K through second grade, because studies show that having more books in the home increases literacy rates as children age.
So it's an exciting day here today, and it's good to know there are still books in the library.
Oh, you bet. There's always books in the library. There's lots of other offerings at the library, too. Our summer reading program will be taking place from June 12th to July 21st, and Miss Elizabeth has a lot of fun events all lined up for kids to come in and find their voice. This year's theme is Find Your Voice, with a focus on art. So have your kids register for our summer reading program this year so that they can experience a lot of fun artwork projects and story times with Miss Elizabeth.
Harlan Ingersoll Library, over the past years, has had a lot of good donors, especially because of its name. So we can now add that to the current donors today of Dave Downey and John Winsor.
That is correct. We were so delighted when they reached out to us about this donation. It has been a long project in the making. This is sort of the culminating event, and Winsor Downey Day is something that we plan to continue in perpetuity in their name.
That's great. It's a great day for the Harlan Ingersoll Library. Wait just a minute. Okay. Well, it's a big day here at the Donaldson Center, Wallace Park, because of the Harlan Ingersoll Library. And Sue Borst is here. She is a daughter of John Winsor, and John has made a great contribution here, along with Dave Downey today, to this library.
Yeah, both Dave and my dad really we're so passionate about children's literature and what children's literature can do for kids, and loved Canton and loved living here, and so wanted to give back to the community.
So how did this all come about? How did you find out? You keep tabs on the library and here and everything?
Yeah, Dad and Dave both have always kept in touch with everybody in Canton and different people, and they were on the board for the library, and so it was something that's near and dear to their heart, and wanted to give back when they were going to donate something to the town.
Of course, we know about Dave Downey, but John Winsor, of course, the publisher of the Ledger here.
He was, yep, and he's also gone on to be an author and an environmentalist, and so he has a lot of different passions. But being part of the Ledger, I think, reading and the library was always very, very special place for him.
John was a good person for this community and helped a lot in here, and his paper helped a lot, so his legacy kind of continues here today with this, I feel.
Oh, well, he was sad he couldn't be here today, but he would be thrilled. I am actually taking some pictures to send back to him, and he would be so thrilled with what Jessica's doing and what the library is doing for the community.
Where is John living now?
He lives in Boulder, Colorado.
Yes. Beautiful area out there.
Yeah, it is beautiful. It is beautiful.
Well, thank you very much. This is John Windsor's daughter here at Donaldson Park. Thank you.
Nice to see you again. Oh, I thought you were signing somebody else. Sorry about that.
on the mountain a couple years ago, and we said, you know, if we could help people learn to read, kids, if they can learn to read, they've got a chance to make it in this world. And that was my case. My dad couldn't read or write, but he instilled in me the love of hard work. And my mother, who had a 6th grade education in Kentucky, read to us every night and developed a love of reading on my part, and it got me through Canton High School. I went to the University of Illinois, and I learned that it was a better, Canton's reading program was better than what I got at the University of Illinois. And so I even learned to make a basket or two. And that was important in a way because it helped me get through school and helped me get through law school. And it was a real chance to make a mark in the world. And you folks, you're looking at yourselves in the mirror, because most of you came through the Canton system and learned to read and write as I did. So I'll be around. I apologize for being late, but I was not as familiar as I thought I was. And here I am, so let's get after it. And here you go.
We're back here in Champaign and talking to Dave Downey. Thanks for coming up here today.
Well, it's really nice to be back home. And I appreciate the people in Canton coming out to welcome me back.
Well, we're glad to have you, and thanks for your donation to the library.
Well, I'm very happy to be fortunate enough to have something to give back.
What do you remember about your days in Canton when you were growing up?
Well, I remember that those games were more important to me than the ones I played later at the university, because these were among friends back in Canton. So you wanted me to say something else?
Well, yeah. Just tell us some more things about Canton and growing up, and what do you think?
Well, I got turned on to basketball by listening to Chick Hearn on the radio, listening to Bradley basketball. And then my dad, who never learned to read or write, made me a hoop. And he made it, he picked up a piece of iron, made it a little too small. He didn't know that he had, but I was the only one that could make them on that hoop. And a few years ago, I got it back. It had been taken off the pole and nailed to a tree, and the tree gave me back my hoop. So
what about your time here at the library, Dad?
It's your turn to talk.
Well, no, I'm going to ask you. Your son Jay wants to know about your days at the library, Parlin Library.
How that helped you?
How that helped you down the road.
Well, I had the privilege of riding my bicycle in from out on East Chestnut to the library when it was over on Chestnut. And I would sit in the stacks and read books like The Boy's Life of Jackie Robinson, The Boy's Life of Jim Thorpe, and I later found out that my friends told me the librarian said, we're going to have to close, but you can take the book with you. And I said, oh no, my mother would never let me take a book. I sat in the stacks and read the books, and it turned into a love affair with stories for me, because stories are what's important. And I learned to read rapidly and well, and that got me through undergraduate school and law school, and got me a chance to travel the world talking about things I believed in. So that's my story, and I'm sticking to it.
You're sticking with us here in Canton, that's for sure. We're just overwhelmed and so grateful for your background and for coming here today.
Well, the Canton people have always been good to me. When I got out of school, Dick Miller, who's probably no relation to you, put on a day for me, and I'm one of the few people that's ever occurred for, and I did appreciate it. So, you better ask me another question.
Well, I don't know what else to ask. A legend in basketball that's made an imprint on Canton like you have.
Let's not forget John Winsor and his donation here to the library.
Your friend John Winsor?
Dave and John were very close acquaintances when I was a kid growing up, we'd come over from Champaign and go out to Weematuck and swim and boat and hang out with the Winsors, and Dave and John have remained lifelong friends, and we've been out to their place in Yellowstone, which is probably the most beautiful place that I've ever seen, where John's place out there, and it's been a fun trip around the clock. Yeah.
So how about John Winsor, your buddy, your friend?
Well, John was kind of the opposite of me. John had a prep school education, and he got me involved in things like skiing and hiking in the mountains, and he built the most beautiful mountain home that you'll ever see, and Jay was talking about that, but it gave me a chance to lie on my back, look at the clouds over the mountains, and think about what life was really meaning. And I hope that we get a few of these kids that want to read, because the key is in the story. And that I may have something more to say later, but that.
Well, I tell you, that's plenty to say today, and we sure enjoyed your words and your thoughts, and let the story continue for you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Dave Downey.
Thank you. It's an honor to be up here with Dave, and it's always nice to come back to Canton. I always marvel at how nice the parks are here in Canton. They're at Big Creek Park. Me and my cousins spent a lot of time at as a kid, and really had a lot of fun there. We used to chase after blue racer snakes in that park. So, but thank you for having us, and this is a wonderful day, and God bless you.
It is a wonderful day here in Canton. I'm here with Craig Campworth and Buck Bryce, who were and are good friends of Dave Downey. We just heard from Dave Downey. And Craig, what are some of your thoughts today when you see Dave?
Well, he's a legend here in Canton, and it's always great when he comes back to visit, because he always holds Canton in such high regard. And at least I could do is come out to see him once again, and he's just a great guy for Canton.
Buck Bryce, what kind of basketball player was Dave Downey?
Dave Downey, like Craig said, he's a legend. I can remember when I was a senior in high school, and our head basketball coach, Frank Whitman, made 8 of us go down at the grade schools and coach players down there, fundamentals. I had the 6th grade team at McCall, and I had to report back to my coach, and he asked me, well, Buck, what do you have down there? I said, well, I got a player. He's pretty good. I think he can start on your freshman team right now. I said, remember this name, Dave Downey. And he said, really? Is he that good? I said, he's going to be one of the best ever at Canton, and evidently he was.
What a story. That's great. So, Craig, you got to watch him, Dave, through his career here at Canton and on to U of I.
Yes, that's what I remember most of all is when I was a young boy, watched at least on Saturday afternoons have the Big Ten Game of the Week, and Illinois was featured frequently on that show because of them being very good in the Big Ten at that time. And Illinois' best player for the couple of years that I remember was Dave Downey. And he was my favorite ball player at Illinois because he's the first one I remember growing up watching basketball. And lo and behold, who would know later when I came to Canton that here's the hometown of Dave Downey. And so he was my favorite ball player as a young kid growing up, and here I am now teaching at the same high school where he went to.
Buck, as a coach, as you look back on him as a coach, what were some of his attributes? Why was he such a good player?
Well, first of all, he was 6'4", but he played like 6'8", and 365 days out of the year, Dave Downey had a basketball in his hand, and he worked all summer playing the game. And they didn't have three-point shooting back then, but he worked on that. And I can remember I came back out of the Army. They played Peoria Central in the sectional finals at Peoria Central, and I think Dave made like 10 shots in a row, and probably 7 or 8 of those were all three-pointers. So he could play inside and also outside. He was a great shooter, high percentage player.
Well, that's the story of Dave Downey today, voice of 2 people who really knew him, who coached him, watched him play. The Dave Downey legend continues here in Canton. Neil Williams is with us, and I'm sure, like other people today, you remember Dave Downey.
Dave and I were in the same class. And the thing about Dave, he's probably the most successful person out of our class, and he's never forgotten his roots. At any reunion we have or any gathering Dave comes to, and he always acknowledges everybody that's there and treats everybody equally. I have nothing but the greatest respect for Dave.
When you were growing up, what did you see about Dave? Did he have the same characteristics?
Yes, Dave was always very personable, always treated people well. Dave was probably the best basketball player to ever come out of Canton, and I might have made the worst basketball player. But in '58, I was out for basketball, and Dave was always nice to everybody.
And did any of that rub off onto you eventually?
Well, yes.
Being nice.
Well, later on, I ended up and coached basketball for several years at St. David Grade School, and his actions in that affected the way I coached.
Well, that's a great story, and we're glad to have you share it with us today.
Well, thanks for asking.
Neil Williams. Okay.
Okay, go ahead.
Joe Ginger here with his recognition and remembrances of Dave.
Yeah. I recall one time we was in either the 7th or 8th grade, and I sat next to Dave. Anyway, he had his homework there, and he just went like this here, just run his hand across it, turn the page, going like this here. I stand there watching him all this time, and it wasn't but just a minute. He was done. Well, then I had to spend 2 hours a night to do the same thing he did in about a minute. Yeah, he was always a very smart person, always nice. I mean, he was always nice to everybody. So we've been friends for all these years.
It's another great story.
Absolutely.
Somebody ripped a page out of this library book. That's not good, is it? How would you feel if you're reading an adventure book, you get to the most exciting part, and all of a sudden, it's missing? Will that be sad? Oh, remember, we can check out library books from the library for free to read. The more we read, the smarter we get. But, of course, take good care of our library books, right? So now what are we supposed to do? How? Wait a minute. I got 2 brand new magic wands from the summer. Should we try those? Yeah! Okay. All right. 2 identical wands. One for you, one for me, okay? But, wait a minute. This is the bigger wand. I get the bigger one because I'm bigger than you, okay? That's fair, right? Okay. See, that's so nice. Look what she just did. She stretched out that wand and she goes, I get the bigger one. See, it's smart. All right, I'll let you have this one. You're about to stitch this. And then stretch it out. You're not going to stretch it out. Are you? All right. You know how to do it. That's how you do it. You just swirl it around like that, okay? On 3! Bag in the air, folks. Bag in the air. When I get the string, you wave the wand. You do the fingernails at the bag, and then when the woman they wear it, and then shout our magic words. Read those books really loud. 1, 2, 3! That feels pretty good. That's nice. Nice breeze. Let me have that. Let me have that. Put that back here. Let's check it out. I see the, oh, there's the clothes on right there. Hold on.